Salesforce CEO demands that San Francisco refund the police after restricting pretext stops, because those are racist. All right, okay. Refund the police. We're going that route now, huh? Even in San Francisco. Interesting. Let's get into it. Here we go. All right. So Salesforce CEO Marc Benioff on yesterday demanded San Francisco increase funding for police. His comments came after a new local policy took effect, restricting officers from conducting pretext traffic stops, which serve as disguises for investigations into other issues. You know what it does? It allows the police to take criminals off the street that might have an outstanding warrant, that might have something crazy in their car. And you know what? It's the broken window theory. You got to start with the small stuff, and then you go to the big stuff. So many busts come because some knucklehead doesn't have he's not following the law as far as his car goes or the way he's driving his car. You take all that stuff away and the police aren't allowed to do their job, essentially. Do their job. Let's take a quick peek at exactly the Twitter post that Marc Benioff said. Let's look at this. All right. San Francisco must refund the police, not continue to defund the police. We've been saying this for a long time. Problem I have with somebody doing business in San Francisco is at one time or another, they have probably supported the politicians, including London Breed, who was on the whole bandwagon of let's defund the police, the greatest concept ever. And then it went wildly sideways. Crime absolutely spiked. And then people are going, oh no, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Our police need to be empowered now, not this new terrible decision to end pretext stops. Agreed. But the pretext stops, those have been stopped all over the United States because those were deemed to be racist. Too many people of color were being pulled over. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. But then the flip side is everybody knows they can get away with everything because you're not pulling people over for anything. Our San Francisco Police Department and sheriffs are the absolute key to a safe and clean San Francisco every day. But we just had to fund the police a few years ago. Now we're flipping. San Francisco must be returned to greater than 2,000 officers within 18 months from approximately 1,400 where it's been allowed to fall. That's nothing. That is nothing. Seattle is at 1958 levels of policing, and our population is 300,000 people more. So San Francisco, you got nothing to complain about. And you know what? This is what politicians in these big liberal blue cities, wanted. This is what they wanted, less police. And the police force must be fully empowered to enforce all laws. You know what? I agree. And most of us reasonable folks, we've been saying that from the get-go. I mean, it's not even something you need to say. It's a given. This is how society operates. This is how you have a society that isn't just run over with criminal activity. Bipping, when you've got literally vocabulary for an area, the Bay Area, San Francisco, Oakland, and specifically Oakland, when you have new vocabulary for crime, break-in in progress, bipping, that's when you know you got a problem. So yes, I agree with everything he's saying, but it's a day late, dollar short. Politicians have been put in place that voters have, wanted, and here you go. So if you do business in a city like that, then you know what you're getting. You got to deal with it. So 1,400 from 2,000 from 1,400. Yeah, there's absolutely zero way that's happening. Seattle has been the poster child for losing police officers, along with Portland. Nobody wants to be a cop. Compensate all city employees to recruit the best officers in the country. That's not happening because employees hate the cops. Your constituents in San Francisco hate the cops, don't respect policing. Yeah, we need to have a reform and justice. We just need to let people go. And yeah, we don't like the police. Yeah, they're bad. We're going to defund them. Reward and recognize them for hiring the absolute best now. Well, we've seen that rewarding and recognizing them hasn't worked. Seattle bumped up their pay scale to the tippy top relative to other communities around here. And how many police officers have they hired net positive? None. We're still losing cops. And it's a no-brainer, because who wants to be a cop in these big liberal cities where nobody respects policing, nobody respects law and authority? You're just letting, homeless people light fires wherever. We had a massive fire in a homeless encampment yesterday in Seattle. It was in a tiny home development. I mean, it basically took down a block of tiny homes. You got stuff like that going on. You just let things happen. So, with those kind of policies, who wants to be a cop in that type of environment? San Francisco Police Academy must be expanded for hiring surge. Yeah, but this is nothing new. But you can expand the academy, but if you can't get the bodies in there, which most police departments cannot, in a quick manner, because you need to offset the impacts of retirement, because you got a lot of cops who've been through this whole fentanyl Floyd thing, and they said, nope, I'm out. And I don't blame them. I'd be out too. If you got your pension coming, get the heck out of Dodge, because nobody respects cops. That whole defund the police thing. I mean, it just, it was virtue signaling at its best. It was a game plan. All right, we're going to defund the police and we're going to put the money back into the community. How's that working out for you? How's that working out for you? It's not. And this post by a CEO is a testament to that. All laws must be fully enforced. And I'm not trying to say I'm a huge Marc Benioff fan. I'm not a Salesforce fan. I'm just not. But this is a prominent leader of business who is saying, good Lord, what do we got going on here? Well, what you got going on is the impact from policy, from what your constituents have voted and where your politicians have taken you, period. So now you got to live with it. All laws must be fully enforced. Okay, yeah, but that should be a given. That should just be a given. And you know what? You go to a lot of big Republican cities, this is the case. They don't have shockingly low number of cops. They allow folks to get pulled over for things like expired tabs. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Or a blinker out or whatever. You know what I mean? That's still a thing. And so that's an additional filter to take people off the street that shouldn't be on the street, that are guilty of other crimes. So this whole notion of, you can't just pull random people over for, having expired tabs. You know what's crazy is down in Portland, talk about RVs on the streets. You've got RVs all day long. They don't have license plates. They don't have tabs. They don't have this. They don't have that. Wildly outside of the law. But because you've allowed that to happen, you've allowed that to become a thing. It used to be that your rig, if it was on a public street and it didn't have, any of that, you'd get hauled away. Now nobody wants to haul all these rigs away because they've already hauled so many homeless rigs away. They don't have a place to store them. All laws must be fully enforced. Police must be fully funded. The DA's office must prosecute to the fullest level of the law. I agree. And I've been saying that for years. But the harsh reality is that ain't happening. Instead, you're trying to do all these recalls for people, hard progressives that you've put into office. So now you're going to try and go the other way. It's not going to happen quickly. And guess what? So many folks within San Francisco don't want to have the DA's office prosecute to the fullest level of the law. Just don't. They believe in justice reform. Let's give them 45 tries. Even then, we'll think about a 46th. Guys committed murder. The guys committed rape. The guys committed all kinds of crimes, property crimes, destruction. But you know what? We believe in him. He's probably a good guy deep down there somewhere. He's got 76, felony convictions, but we're just going to return him to the streets and let him do his thing because that's what we believe in. DA's office prosecute to the fullest level of the law. How about prosecuting 50% of the law? How about prosecuting some of the law? Yeah. Mike Schmidt down in Portland was a good example of that. Yeah. Not really prosecuting much of the criminal activity going through. And how does Portland look now? what kind of things has Portland experienced? Not good. Talk to any cop in Portland. Not good. Return safety to retail businesses and residential properties. Yep, that is a thing. Safety. I know. Weird, right? Live in a community. Everything's okay. You're not going to be worried about being broken into. It's happening all over because people have just gotten used to this idea of, yeah, it's big city. Yeah, big city crime. And no, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. You start at the bottom, you go after people for whatever, you keep things on the level, you enforce all laws. And the problem is the far left and the left say, well, that's living in a totalitarian state. No, it's not. There's laws for a reason. You got to follow them. It's not that hard, folks. Return safety to retail business and residential properties now, district by district. But I don't think the districts want that. I don't think the districts want any of this. And San Fran is not that different from Seattle. And there's still defund the police signs over there. There's still Black Lives Matter signs over there. Domestic terrorism. Yeah, you see it all the time. And you just drive around through a community. Oh, yeah, there you go. There you go. These folks don't want district by district return to safety. Police officers need to be enabled to protect assigned districts and rewarded and measured for their effectiveness. Yep, that's if you can get them. You can't get them right now. You've got a shortage across the United States because you pooped on policing as a profession, and here you are. Metrics for effectiveness need to be clearly defined and transparent. Should have been that way all the way along. But, you had a couple of instances happen and everybody went, police are bad, this is terrible, this is awful. And here you go. Let's institute a neighborhood policing model in San Francisco. Safety district by district. We can and we must do more now with our police force. 100% agreed. I mean, 100% agreed. There's just no question here. But the harsh reality is this kind of post is, it to me, it's okay, you're doing this to just basically get the message out, but the message is going to fall on deaf ears. Because then you'd have to admit that a lot of the Democrat policy that's been put in place has been an abject failure. And it has. It has. I mean, look at the streets of San Francisco. Look at the streets of Seattle, streets of Portland, streets of LA. LA has had a horrific number of increases of homeless fires. You've got all these homeless communities out there that are just off the charts for crime. And fires are one of those things where, yeah, how many resources are being taken away from the fire departments to combat this stuff? Whereas you go to Republican cities, they don't have those numbers of fires. You just don't. It's not a thing because they don't have those numbers of community, homeless community. Get people the help they need, get them where they need to go, get them the resources they need, but you can't just pitch a tent and do urban living in a tent. That's a no-go. It's a hard no-go. That's not what we're doing. But in cities like San Francisco, which have handed out everything but the drugs, allowed drugs to just proliferate, homeless communities proliferate, and then you've got the crime associated with that. Because the drugs, even though they're now super cheap, fentanyl now is super cheap per individual serving, per dose. You still got to have a little bit of money to make that happen. So you rob from your local store, you rob from your local community, then you go sell it on the open air market. San Francisco, famous for their open air drug markets. I mean, it's a known quantity. Seattle, same thing. Portland, same thing at night. The troglodytes of of the open air market, they emerge, they come out, and they sling their shenanigans. And because you don't have enough police to basically take that down night after night after night and really get a handle on it, long term, then it's a no-go. So I totally agree with everything he is saying. And yet there's this reality, which is San Francisco is this way for a reason. And it's because the folks of San Francisco wanted it this way. They wanted it this way. They voted it this way. And now they've got to deal with it. But that's why, long term, I mean, the cycle effect is businesses are leaving, and businesses have left San Francisco in droves. San Francisco has a commercial vacancy of what? Is it 40% now? Something like that? Highest in the United States or near the tippy top? I haven't seen a number for a while, but I don't imagine that's really come back down. And some of that had to do with being reasonable. Some of that had to do with the way the dynamics in business have changed, meaning all the tech companies that were in San Francisco recognized that they no longer needed to have massive office space. So they've pulled back from that. But you've also got street conditions. Nobody wants to, like Elon Musk yesterday said, nobody wants to fight the drug addicts on the street getting into your office. And so Elon Musk took Twitter, X, we're supposed to call it X. I'm just going to call it Twitter, is taking X to Austin. Some might say, well, yeah, that's just barely a step below San Francisco, but it's in Texas. So you don't have the craziness of the state income tax, and you've got better leadership. You got a better governor. I mean, yeah, the list goes on and on and on. And I think Elon Musk he's had one foot out the door for a long time. And, posts like this is Salesforce. Salesforce had their name on one of those big buildings in downtown San Fran, but they've been reducing their office footprint as well. They've also been firing a bunch of people as well. So that all aside, I was glad to see this post, but it's also like, I agree, but this should have been stated, and there should have been, a huge fight against this back in 2020, the summer of love. But instead, we just allowed a whole bunch of people to protest and burn down, buildings, burn down businesses, loot businesses, invade police departments, take over blocks of Seattle, all in the name of what? Yeah. And then here we are, a few years later. Yeah, let's see. Overdoses are up, crime is up, business is down, vacancies are up. So yeah, you got all these things that are kind of like, well, what did you think would happen? What did you think would happen? But the numbers in policing are some of the most shocking because you just don't have enough police in the system to make it go. The only way police departments are effectively operating right now it's because they're just leaning on their cops to do overtime, just massive overtime schedules. I mean, I used to get a pretty consistent feed of what the numbers of shift, how many police officers they were down in Portland. And it was like every single day we're down XYZ. You've got half of the force you need on that shift. You've got a third of the force that you need on that shift. And then what happens? Well, when people call 911, there aren't police to come out. And, in Chicago, you call 911, you have literally got a 50-50 chance of having a cop come out, period. 50-50, 1 out of 2. Yeah, they may not come. Yeah, what are the odds on that? Well, about 50-50. So if you're a betting man, I'd say probably no, unless somebody's getting murdered. And that's just where we sit. That is where we sit with policing in a lot of these big cities. And across the nation, even in Republican cities, they are down, but just not down as much. And in some of the communities where they have been fiercely pro-police, they don't have these shortages, but those are kind of few and far between. So San Francisco, yep, you need more cops. Seattle, yep, you need more cops. But that's not the direction that the folks running these cities really want to go. So what's going to happen? Yeah, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. And crime will just, elevate, even though, we're being told, crime's going down. Now, how's that perception to you? Do you feel like crime is going down? Because with all the stuff I read, I don't think so. We're being told the numbers are going down, but I think so much of that has to do with nobody's reporting the criminal activity anymore because they've given up because there aren't enough cops. Weird, right? All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'd love to have you subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for being here again. Bye.